Hello again. Like many people, I raised my eyebrows on hearing a BBC commentator suggest that there was something amiss that the England women's football team, which is doing so well, fielded only white players. After all, most people in this country are white, so it should come as no surprise that most people in any group will tend to be white, rather than black or of Indian origin. Just 3% of the population in England is black, so if you have a team of 11 players, that would work out to about a third of a player if you wanted to do this so that the team reflected the population, as they say these days. I can think of many reasons why Asian girls, for example, don't want to get as involved in football as white girls. And I think it possible that white girls are keener and more enthusiastic about the game than other ethnicities, that there might be more of them and therefore a wider pool of talent among them to choose from. I don't think that anybody has ever suggested that racial prejudice is involved in having an all-white team. However, we can always rely upon the BBC to stir things up and not so much to report the news as to create it. After the announcer recently mentioned a lack of diversity, the BBC thought it would be a good idea to go and find some black and Asian girls to whom they could wind up by suggesting that there was something unfair about an English team which contained only white people. In the description to this video, I give a link to a piece which the BBC made for Newsbeat, the news programme aimed at children and young people. It really is poisonous. We start with a black girl saying that some black girls can't connect with the women's team because they can't fully identify with a group of white women. This should set alarm bells ringing, of course, because if black people cannot support an English team containing only English players, then it means that they don't identify fully as English themselves. In other words, we're always told that it makes no difference where somebody was born, they can still be as English as us. This black girl seems to be indicating that that's not at all the case. That fully to identify with a football team, she must see people in it whose families come from Africa or the Caribbean. Then text comes up on the screen saying that there has been criticism of the team's lack of diversity. Yes, criticism from the BBC. They started this non-story and they're now trying to work it up into a problem. Then a young Muslim woman with a hijab comes on and talks about the fact that she is from a religious background. She's Muslim and says that she doesn't see any Muslims in the women's team. What this has to do with anything at all, I have no idea. Has anybody asked themselves if any of those women in the team are Christian or Jewish, Buddhist, Quakers, Unitarians? No, they haven't. What the devil has the religion of the players got to do with anything? Has anybody asked about the religion of the members of the England men's team? Do we care? This is the first time I've ever heard religion being mentioned as a factor in football, and it is the BBC who are trying to make this a thing. Disgraceful. It seems that an educational charity called Football Beyond Frontiers, Football Beyond Borders I should say, is working to bring diversity to the sport. Hand on heart, has anybody ever thought that there is not a great deal of diversity in British football? That there are not a lot of black football players in this country? Are there barriers to black people becoming footballers? If so, those barriers can't be very strong or effective. This is a classic BBC tactic. Stirring things up and making people aware of skin colour when they might not otherwise notice it. The idea that religion should be a factor in who plays for the England team is an alarming one. because it leads, of course, to the idea of quotas for different faiths, whether Muslims or Jews. Is that a good idea? Should we insist that there must be a certain number of black people or Indians or Muslims in any team or group in the country? Is it a problem that chess players in England are mainly white, often Jewish, with many Indians and people of Chinese heritage? There are no black people. Should that be a cause for concern? What about string quartets or swimming teams? I think that the BBC are really venturing into dangerous territory here, and I'm not altogether sure what they're up to.